goes inside. Oh, what a slam. Screen, one man to beat, but it's a 7-footer who blocks it again.
The Boston Celtics secured a Game 1 win at home in blowout fashion and showed everyone just how dangerous they can be when they're all knocking down shots. Straight out of the gate, Kristaps Porzingis came out on fire, dropping 20 points in just 20 minutes on 62% from the field and 50% from 3. He was doing everything right. On switches with smaller defenders, he was able to simply shoot over them, and when pressured, he went inside for a dunk.
Porzingis gets away inside and throws it down.
In my opinion, he was the biggest difference maker in this game, because not only was he scoring at an incredibly efficient rate, he was challenging and blocking shots on the defensive end. Like here, Porzingis is in the typical 1v2 situation, and he perfectly plays in between and contests Jaden Hardy's shot attempt. Again, in a 1v2 situation, he plays in between and blocks Kyrie's shot. And this is probably the best example of Porzingis' defensive impact. Here he cuts off Kyrie's drive, and this should have been a dunk for Derrick Jones Jr., but Kristaps Porzingis recovers and gets his third block of the game. He's able to cut off drives and clean up the consequences of doubling at the rim. And speaking of the rim, the big man duo of Lively and Gafford for the Mavericks were completely negated in this game. We've seen in the past series the value of Lively and Gafford on the offensive end as supreme lob threats, but the Celtics personnel was able to eliminate that value. Instead of matching up big with big, Boston matched up Tatum on Lively and Gafford. Because Jaylen Brown is already guarding Luka, a screen from the Dallas bigs results in just a simple switch. With the ability to switch, the drop coverage lobs and Luka's signature jail move doesn't get an opportunity to even be effective. The only way to give Luka a favorable matchup was to bring PJ Washington or Derrick Jones Jr., but the problem with that is that there's no second option. It's simply just Luka with a one-on-one matchup, which isn't the worst thing in the world, but it completely limited everyone else on the Mavericks. Dallas's offense became just a bunch of iso ball with Luka at the controls. There was no ball movement pretty much the whole game, and I think the biggest stat that reflected that is the assists. The Mavericks before the fourth quarter had a total of 5 assists, and Luka had only 1 assist the entire game, something that we rarely ever see. But as far as Luka's personal offense goes, he didn't look too uncomfortable other than a few occasions where Brown forced multiple turnovers, like this one here.
Unexpectedly, because that's when Boston's so dangerous.
Brown on the steal.
He still got to his spots and got past mismatches, but the biggest thing for Luka will be on the defensive end. Time and time again, Tatum and Brown were hunting the switch with Luka, trying to wear him out. Like here, Hauser goes to set a screen, Luka switches on Brown, and then Jaylen just goes to work. Again, Luka gets switched onto Tatum and is forced to defend. Overall, I'd say Luka actually did a decent job, but the real question is, can Luka keep that up all series long? I have no doubt that Luka will take on the challenge and give it his all, but at some point you can't expect him to basically be the primary defender on Tatum and Brown while also being the entire offense on the other end, especially when Kyrie Irving is basically a non-factor in the game. Kyrie dropped just 12 points on 6 of 19 from the field and 0 of 5 from 3. There were times when the Celtics did play great defense on him, forcing a miss, like here, Kyrie drives in and gets his layup blocked. Again, Kyrie drives in and is forced into a heavily contested jumper. However, there were also a ton of shots that Kyrie just simply missed. It had nothing to do with the defense the Celtics played. Here, Kyrie backdoors Jaylen Brown, and this is a layup we all know Kyrie is very capable of making, and it just doesn't fall. Again, this is a very makeable layup, and he just misses. But it wasn't only layups that weren't falling, because the threes weren't doing him any favors either. Take a look at these 3 moments. These are all wide open threes for Kyrie. Absolutely no defense being played, and yet all 3 of these shots were misses.
Irving a 3. Irving, nobody near him. 3-pointer, can't get it to go. A piece of it, but right to Irving for 3. That won't go.
This was the biggest difference between these 2 teams. One team was knocking down shots at an amazing rate, and the other wasn't. The Celtics recorded 16 threes on 38%, and the Mavericks notched just 7 threes on 26%. The offense for the Celtics was just flowing right off the bat. 6 different players reaching double digits in scoring, and an NBA Finals record 7 different players hitting multiple three-pointers. The ball movement from the Celtics was great all game long. Like here, Luka and PJ double-team Tatum, leaving a 3v2 situation on the backside. Tatum gets it out to Derek White, and then it's just a swing, easy 3. Again, Brown drives past Luka, creating a 2v1 on the perimeter. Jalen kicks it out to Drew and swings it over to Tatum for another 3. For about the entire first half, it felt like the Mavericks were just dead. They came out with no energy, and it was the exact opposite for the Celtics. Honestly, the moment Porzingis checked in the game, everything changed. Play after play after play, offense and defense, the Celtics were just on top of it. But then that third quarter came around. After the Celtics had knocked down 11 threes in just the first half on 41%, they started to die out. A 29-point lead dwindled all the way down to 8, with the Mavericks playing honestly pretty horribly. Of course, the 8-point deficit only lasted for a short time after the Mavs' momentum was halted by 2 travel calls and the lead ballooned back up to 20. But the fact that the Mavs managed to get back in the game to a point where it looked like it was possible for them to come back and win shows with a bit of adjustments they can come out on top. The Celtics are a dangerous team, but what the Mavericks need to do is keep the game close. Luka and Kyrie are the 2 best closers in the league, and in a close game, I think their chances of pulling out a win in the clutch is higher than the Celtics. But Boston did a great job ensuring that it did not get to that point. As with all playoff series, you cannot overreact to Game 1 because at the end of the day, it is just one game. The Mavericks have a history of losing the first game of the series. I mean, they've only won a single Game 1 under Jason Kidd. Not to mention 2 double-digit losses in the first and second round. Obviously, the Celtics are a much better team and the Clippers and Thunder are nowhere near the same level, but I think it's worth noting. Jason Kidd and the rest of the Mavericks coaching staff has been in this situation before and have made great adjustments every time, so this is not something they haven't dealt with before. However, the Celtics really haven't had to adjust to anything all playoffs because they can simply rely on how stacked their team is every time. So I think the real difference maker in Game 2 will be Joe Mazzulla and Jason Kidd. But anyways, what did you guys think about Game 1? Are the Mavericks going to bounce back in Game 2, or are the Celtics going to take a commanding 2-0 lead? Let me know in the comments down below, and I'll catch y'all in the next one. Peace.